DreAllDay.com.
You are now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves all of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into one bundle, one package, one framework, one method, one philosophy, one book. We got a daily masterclass that is what you're listening to right now, all under one umbrella that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic, some things that any athlete, any new athlete, if you are new to a certain level of playing professional sports, if you're new to playing sports, period, if you're thinking about getting into the sports game, or you're thinking about getting serious about a sport. Let's say you've been playing, but now you really want to get serious about a sport. I'm going to tell you some things that you need to understand, and I'm making this episode specifically for a certain group, and I'll get to that in a minute. But first, let me tell all of you that I have a text message line where I want you to text me and tell me the most valuable insight you have gleaned from today's masterclass. It can be, you can ask me a question, you can share a challenge, you can offer a comment or criticism, anything that you would like regarding this episode. Just send me a text at the following number, 305-384-6894. Again, 305-384-6894. I do read and respond to all my texts. And once you text me, you also will be in my texting community, which means you're going to receive my daily motivation text message, which I send out to everyone in my community every single day. Again, just send me a text at that number that I gave you. The number is down below in the show description also. So this episode here, things that athletes need to understand, I thought of this one based on the experience of the professional athletes. So anyone who is stepping into the pro world as a pro athlete, or you want to be a pro athlete, or you're aiming right now, you're focused on getting yourself in there. I'm focusing on the professional athlete and the things I'm going to share here today, but I'm also taking into account that many athletes, even though you may not be pro right now, and who knows, maybe you'll decide you don't even want to be pro, or maybe you just won't become pro, because fewer than 1% of athletes get to become professionals at their sport. That taking into account that many athletes, especially male athletes, most of the time it's the male athletes who are really dreaming that much of becoming the pros, dream about becoming professionals. Not everybody's going to get there, but you're aiming. So I want you to heed this message for now and save it for later, even if you're not pro yet. But these are some things that you need to understand about the professional sports world. Some of these will involve your actual performance, and some of them do not. So make sure you are listening closely and taking notes. And all the coaches out there or parents out there, make sure you share this episode with your players, or the players that you know, so that they know these elements of the game coming from someone who knows the game from the inside out. And for those of you who don't know, those of you may only know me from this class, or maybe you only know me from my books. My background is in sports, played basketball overseas 9 years after I walked on that NCAA Division III school, which is the third tier of college sports, the level that most D3 athletes don't even dream about making it pro, let alone do they actually do it. But I was able to make that happen. That's a different story for a different day. If you want to know about it, read my book, Work on Your Game, which you can get at workonyourgamebook.com. And if you want to learn how to actually play pro basketball overseas, then read the only guidebook on how to play basketball overseas, which is called the Overseas Basketball Blueprint. And it just happens to have been written by me. So you can get that for free by going to balloverseas.com. That's balloverseas.com. You can get the Overseas Basketball Blueprint for free. Just cover the shipping. Same deals with the third day, same as with the Mirror of Motivation. So all that being said, let's get into our points today. Things that the professional athlete needs to know. Number one, as a professional athlete, doesn't matter what sport you are playing, you need to know how to perform every single day. And by perform every day, I don't necessarily mean play good in the games, because as a pro athlete, you probably don't have a game every day. Maybe if you play a sport like, and the only sport I know where there's a game almost every day is baseball. Other than baseball, you're not having a game every day. You play football, you have a game once a week. Basketball, you might have, depending on where you're playing. If you're playing overseas, you might have a game once a week, just like NFL football, American football. If you're playing certain places overseas or in the NBA or in the G League, you might have 2, 3, 4, 5 games in a week. Then you may have a week where you only have 2 games. So the games can be anywhere from once a week to several games a week. But when I say perform every day, I literally mean every day. Meaning the days when you don't have a game and you just have a workout, or you just have a practice with your team, or just some type of training session, or you have an individual workout that you need to come in for, you need to learn to perform for those as well. When you're playing the sport that I know best, let's say basketball, when you're playing basketball professionally, there are days when the team does not have a function. There is no game, you are not traveling, and there is no practice, but you may be scheduled to come in for an individual workout. This happens when you're playing professional basketball. Now, those of you who are ball players, listen to this. Maybe that excites you. You're like, oh yeah, that'd be great if I could have individual workouts and I get my individual work in on days when there aren't team events. But understand that these days are happening in the middle of the season, meaning you may have played a lot of minutes in the previous game, or you might have just come home from a road trip, or you might have had a couple of tough practices the days leading up to this. Now it's allegedly a day off for the team, so to speak, but it's not a day off for you because you're scheduled to come in for an individual workout, and you better show up for that workout. And when I say show up, I don't mean you need to come to the facility. I mean, you better show up and be ready to perform at that workout, meaning giving your best effort to that workout, even though you may not physically feel like it. Maybe you don't mentally feel like it, because you could be on the opposite end of the spectrum. The players who get called in for those individual workouts most often are the players who are not playing that much. So somebody like LeBron James might not have any individual workouts on his schedule, or Steph Curry or James Harden. They might not have so many off day workouts on their schedule that the team is making mandatory for them to come in for, because those guys are playing a lot in the games. They're carrying the heaviest load for the team in the games. But you, who might be sitting at the end of the bench, you aren't playing at all. So you're the one who's being called in for those workouts, even though you went to all the games and sat on the bench and cheered hard for your teammates, and you've been in all the practices going hard and putting all this extra work in because you're not playing in the games. Now you got to show up for that workout, and you know you didn't play in the last game, you're not going to play in the next game. You got to show up for that workout, and you got to show up for practice and practice hard. And then when the game comes, sit on the bench and cheer, even though you've been a player playing hard and being a star on every team you played on up until this point to get to the pro level. Now you're not playing at all. You got to keep showing up. This ability to show up every single day is more of a choice than it is a talent. It's 100% a choice. It's not a talent at all. This is what the third day is all about. If you don't know what the third day is, it's a framework that I explained in my book, Work on Your Game. Then I wrote a whole book about it. And that's this book that I'm holding up right now, The Decision That Separates the Pros from the Amateurs. And that's why the subtitle is the subtitle. If you want to be a professional at what you do, you got to make some decisions that amateurs don't make. What separates a pro from an amateur, yes, skill and yes, talent and a resume and all those things. But what really separates the pros who stick around from the pros who don't stick around is their willingness and ability to show up every single day and perform. Mentally perform, physically perform, emotionally perform, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's tough, even when you've been playing more than everybody and you still got to do it again, even when you're playing less than everybody and you still have to do it again. Can you continually show up? That is the third day. And it is the key to being your best at anything in life, including sports. The fans who are watching you, your family members who are following you on Facebook, they only see the games that you play in. They only know about what you're doing in the games, and they can only they can Google your stats. But you and your coaches, they see every training session, they see every practice, they see every workout. Now you, as an athlete, you're earning your playing time and preparing yourself for the games by what you do behind the scenes, what you do in those individual workouts, what you do in the team practice sessions. So you have to learn how to show up consistently, because this is the way that you actually get your chance to show the rest of the world, the people who have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. The only way they know what you're doing is what they see you do in the game. And the only way to get your chance in the game is to show up consistently in everything that is not the game. In other words, the third day. The third day is everything other than the flashy, shiny stuff that goes on in a job. Everyone who's listening to this, whatever job you do, there's the flashy, shiny stuff that people know about. All right? The things that you would broadcast to the world, or things that some outsider could find out just by looking around at what you're doing. But it's everything other than those things, the parts that you know the public doesn't see, that is the third day. The hard work, the updating the CRM, the making sure the accounting is right, the fulfilling the inventory for a bunch of orders that you have that are waiting to be shipped out. You got customers who are getting antsy because their order's taking too long to get packaged and get their tracking information. All the things that you had to do on the back end that the outside world does not know about is the third day. As a professional athlete, this third day thing, this is what drives people out of the industry. People stop playing professional sports not because they get tired of the games or the adulation or the money or the attention. People stop playing professional sports because they get tired of the workouts and the trainings and the cold tubs and everything other than the games. And I talk about this again in my book, The Third Day. If you haven't claimed your copy of this book, go to thirddaybook.com. The link is down below in the show episode description. Get your copy of this book, because I explain exactly what this is and why athletes really stop playing their sport. It has nothing to do with what happens in the actual games. And again, that's the only thing the fans know about is what happens in the games. So there's a whole other side of the game that most people think they know about, but they don't actually know about. And your career depends on your ability to continually show up and perform even when you don't feel like it, because there are a whole bunch of talented people who want to play professional sports. Your talent is not the thing that is keeping you in pro sports unless you happen to be in the 1% of the 1%. Meaning if you are Kevin Durant or LeBron or Tom Brady or Randy Moss, if you're one of those talents, then maybe your talent will put you in the top 1%. But I guarantee if you ask anybody who's ever been on the inside in professional sports, they can tell you they've known players who had a talent level that is comparable to the superstars and the legends that you know about. They've known players with a comparable talent level who did not last in professional sports. Those guys are talented, yes. They do have game and they have abilities that most people could never even dream about having. But understand, there are other players who have been close to them in talent who didn't even last, couldn't even stay in the league, couldn't even sustain a career because of their inability to be able to show up, their inability to show up every single day consistently. So this is something that you really need to internalize and really know how to leverage from day one. Because if you can't do this, you won't get to see a career. You will have what they call in sports a cup of coffee in sports, and then it's pretty much over. So again, get that book, thirddaybook.com. The link is down below in the show notes. Number 2, today's topic once again is things that professional athletes, newly professional athletes, need to understand about the pro world. Male athletes, and I'm gonna tell you right now, this second point, I'm gonna do a whole masterclass just on this point alone, but I'm gonna throw it in here because it needs to be said. Male athletes, specifically those of you who are playing high visibility sports, high visibility sports, we'll just call it that. Specifically sports like basketball, football, baseball. I'm assuming this happens in probably like professional soccer. This probably happens. Maybe it happens in hockey. I don't know too much about the inside of the hockey world, but let's just say those sports right there. Football, baseball, basketball, hockey, and we'll even say soccer professionally, especially those of you who play soccer overseas. Male athletes, you must learn to discern which females are for purchase and which ones are for rent. Now, many of you probably understand exactly what I mean by that, with that metaphor, without me even having to explain it. You got to get really good, male athletes, at discerning the difference, because your life could depend on it. Literally, your life could depend on making the right decision as to, all right, is this female here for the short term, or is this the type of female I should be looking at for a long-term type of engagement? Again, a full masterclass coming on this topic. In short, let's just put it like this. When you're an athlete, a professional athlete, the higher the level that you're playing at and the more visible your job is, the more people you're going to have coming around you who just want to feel the aura of success that comes with your athletic performance, male and female. Now, be that, again, the aura that comes with your success, that could be people who are interested in the money that you make, the attention that you garner, the social media likes that you get, whatever else could come or whatever else comes with it that they are interested in or that you know about or that you are broadcasting. Because we have social media now, we can broadcast our lives. You heterosexual males, I mean, you are attracted to women who play professional sports. You got to watch out for women who will use you. If you allow it, they will use you for a come up. Specifically, and here's what I'm talking about specifically. I'm going to do a whole masterclass on this topic, so just put a pin in this idea here, okay? Specifically via getting married to you or having children by you. Now, there are some, as I said, this point here is you got to discern who's for purchase and who's for rent. All right. You don't want to have a child with a woman that is probably just a temporary thing for you. It's a temporary thing for you, but because you made some bad decisions and you executed poor judgment, you took a temporary situation and made it permanent. And now you got 18 years of child support payments and a child that, for again, your entire life. That child is your child for life, and you're connected to that woman who was supposed to be a one-night thing. Now you're connected to her for at least the next 18 years, and that child for the duration of your life, because you made a bad decision and you executed poor judgment. Now, those of you who follow sports, those of you who've been in sports, those of you who coach sports, those of you who play sports, even those of you who don't, if you just pay attention to social media or you watch the news, you've heard enough stories of things like this that occurred. Now, maybe it didn't get put out as explicitly as I just said it, but you've heard enough of these stories, have you not? So you pro athletes, this is something that you need to know about. This is something you need to be thinking about, and hopefully this is not the first time you've heard about it. Hopefully I'm not the first person to ever say this to you. Hopefully again, especially you male athletes, hopefully your parents told you something about this when they saw that you were serious and on your way in professional sports. Hopefully you had a teammate who told you something. Hopefully you had a coach or someone who was already in the game who gave you some game about understanding. I completely understand that you're gonna do your thing with females. You're a heterosexual male, you're an athlete, you got testosterone. Are you gonna do what you're gonna do? Go ahead and do it. Just make sure you don't do anything stupid that takes a one-night situation and turns into an 18-year situation. Now, again, I'm gonna do a whole masterclass just on this point alone, but we will continue on today. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is things that new professional athletes, you need to understand. Number 3, piggybacks on what I said in point number 2. Many of the people who like you as you move up in your sport, whether that means you're already a pro or people can see, they can read the tea leaves and see that you're going to become a pro. Many people who like you at that point, they don't actually like you as a person. Now, this might be a splash of cold water on your face, but again, my aim is that nothing that I'm saying here today is brand new. It really is. Now, most of the time when I say things here on this show, I'm hoping that I'm giving you something or a perspective that you haven't thought about, at least even if I'm not giving you a topic that you never thought about, hopefully I'm giving you a perspective that you never thought about. This topic here today, I hope that I'm saying a whole bunch of things that you already know. I hope I'm just reinforcing things that you already know and you're glad that I'm reinforcing them. I hope this is not brand new to anybody, but if it is, you need to text me so I can make sure, so I can help you help yourself and make sure you don't do anything dumb. When you're a professional athlete and people are coming around you and the only place they know you from is your success in sports, many of the people who are pretending to like you don't actually like you. Now, that may be a red pill for some of you to have to swallow, that many of these people pretending to actually be your friend are not really your friend. What they like is not really you as a person. They wouldn't like you if you were working at UPS loading the truck. They wouldn't like you if you were at Walmart checking people out. They wouldn't like you if you were at McDonald's working the drive-thru. They like you because they like what they could get from being around you. They like what you do for a living, and they like what comes with it, which again could be the money that you make, the attention you garner. It's not you as a human being that they like. All right, if you want to find out who actually likes you, all right, stop playing professional sports. Stop having the attention. Stop making that money, and see how many people still return your phone call. See how many people are still trying to hang with you. Then you'll find out who actually likes you. So you must adjust accordingly. Understanding that many of the people who come around you after you become a known commodity are only coming around because you're a known commodity, not because of you as a human being. All right, don't let that go to your head. It will help you to have and keep some trusted people around you, people that you actually trust. And even better, if these people, and I would even say, I would almost make this imperative, that these people that you keep around you, the trusted people, they need to be people who knew and trusted you, or that you knew and trusted, better way of saying it, before the rest of the world even knew your name. Family members who knew you way before it looked like you were going to become a star. If you bring people around you who only came around after you became successful, there's a criteria for finding them as well. It doesn't mean everybody who comes around you is a snake and is trying to rob you. I'm going to get to that in a second. But some people who knew you way before you became somebody, that will help. Because it's really hard to make new friends when you know that everybody else knows what you do for a living and has some idea of what they could possibly get from being around you. Keep some day one people in your circle, as they say. This is why you see a lot of pro athletes, they will do business with their friends that they grew up with, or they'll have family members helping them out in their business, or some people around them who have been around way before it was guaranteed that this person, it was destined that this person was going to become successful, however you define that term, success. But you got to be very careful as a pro athlete of the new individuals who come around you, the new people who come to hang out, the new people who have some type of investment opportunity for you, the new people who want you to go to this party over here. They want to introduce you to this person or that person, or these new people who just want to hang out. All right, they don't actually bring anything to the table. You're looking at them trying to figure out what are they actually bringing to the equation here. You can't answer the question, but they're always around. You got to be very wary of these individuals. And if that means that you need to be a little bit of a jerk and push people away, then so be it. If that means you got to have someone around you who can be the lieutenant for you, they can kind of be the interference for you, meaning anyone who wants to get to you, they got to go through this individual. Have that individual be somebody that you know and have trusted way before you were a known commodity, who can keep people out of your business, keep people out of your face, keep people from asking you stuff. The person who can say no on your behalf, so you don't have to say no to everybody, but you need to have that individual in your circle. This person must exist. Why? Because if you allow the whole world to be able to get directly to you, you're going to be dealing with a lot of people who just want to leech off of whatever it is you have created for yourself. They just want to be a part of that because they see what they can gain. This is just how it is. All right, don't be mad about it and don't complain. Just play the game. We talked about this in episode 1210. Don't complain. Just learn how to play the game. Understand what the game is. I'm giving you the game. Accept the fact that the game is the game, and just make sure you're not the one who is getting played in the game. Make your necessary adjustments. Keep some day one people in your circle. People who you know, people who you trust, and people who will keep it real with you, and they'll be willing to keep it real with the outside world to protect you so that you can focus on doing the main thing. What is the main thing? Whatever it is that you do on that field or on that track or on that court, because that's the thing that got you known in the first place. Make sure you're paying attention to that golden goose so it can keep laying those golden eggs. The golden goose is what I talked about in point number one, your ability to show up every single day and perform. You stop doing that, then nobody will have a reason to come around you anyway, because you'll be jobless. And all that other stuff that comes with the job, the attention, the fame, the notoriety, the money, all that stuff goes away if you don't have the job anymore. So make sure you have some people in your circle who will block the outside world out so that you can focus on the main thing. Keep the main thing, which is your ability to perform in your sport. And keep all the new people away. Make them earn their way to even where they have a conversation with you. Make them earn that. And have someone, again, let them go through another person. Get somebody else who can be the jerk for you to tell everybody no. All right, you don't have to do it. Let somebody else do that job. Give them a job. All right, they've been around you since day one anyway. You can trust them. Give them a job. Put them on your payroll. And let them take care of the outside world so you can do your thing. And if you look around at many people who have created notoriety for themselves, especially in the athletic world, almost all of them have these people around them. You might not know about it, but almost all of them, and there are many, the highest profile people, they all have these people around them. Kevin Durant, LeBron James, they all have these people around them. They have people who, if you try to get to Kevin Durant or LeBron James, meaning you want to ask them a question, you want to have a meeting, there's 2, 3, 4 people you'll have to go through first before you could ever have a conversation with the main guy. Why is that? So number one, so that those 2, 3 other people can tell you no before the main guy has to tell you no. They are there to screen people like you away. And number two, so that the main guy, the Kevin Durant or LeBron James, can focus on the thing that actually made them know in the first place was their ability to play ball. They got to take a minute out of their workout to say no to you. Now let's focus on the main thing, which is whatever got them known in the first place, their ability to put that ball in the basket. And remember that focus is a force multiplier. You keep breaking your focus to pay attention to what somebody else wants or to tend to another person's agenda is slowing you down from doing your thing. Focus being a force multiplier is episode 1193, by the way. Point number 4. Today's topic, once again, is things that new professional athletes need to understand. Now, knowing what I just told you about having some people around you who can be in front of you and block the rest of the world out, knowing this, I'm not telling you that it's impossible for you to make new friends, because when you step into a new realm and your name becomes newly known to a whole bunch of other people who otherwise did not know who you were, understand that you're gonna create new associations. There are going to be new people who come around, and some of them will actually be good people. Some of them will be worthless. Some of them are going to be 2 minute people. Some of them are going to be 2 hour people. Some of them are going to be 2 days people, like we talked about in episode 1058. But you can make new friends. You can sort through and find the 2 days people in these new environments that you're in. Here's my piece of advice for that. Make friends with people who don't need anything from you. The more notable your name is and the more success, quote unquote, that is around your name, the better you need to get at discerning who is befriending you because they want something from you and who is befriending you because they're actually genuine and they are befriending you as a person. Who does not need anything from you? Who are those people? Who's the type of person that doesn't need anything from you? Type people who already have their own stuff. They already have their own things going on. They already have their own money. They already have their own attention. They already have their own business dealings. So they don't need anything from you. You have to be very careful about people who might need something from you. And just ask yourself, if this person didn't deal with me, do they still have their own things going on? If you can't answer that question, then you should be very careful in dealing with that individual. This is why you see, a lot of times you see people who are publicly noted, like famous people, you see them dating each other so often. They go from dating one famous person and then they're dating a different famous person. Why do they just keep dating famous people? Why don't they just date somebody who's not famous? The reason why they date each other is because they all know that the person that they're dating doesn't need their fame, doesn't need their resources. They can relate to each other's lives because they all know what it feels like to be under that microscope. So for you, find people who have their own lives, their own food, clothing, shelter, who want to be around you but don't need to be around you. This is an important point right here. People who want to be around you but don't need to be around you. Ideally, you want to find people who can actually help you do what you do better. People whose presence actually makes you better. Their presence raises the level up of everything that you have going on. Not a person who brings it down. Not a person who needs so much from you that it takes you away from the main thing. Again, tending to that golden goose. Someone who actually makes you better by their very presence. This is all of this that I'm talking about here today, except for point number 1, all goes under the umbrella of discernment, which is your skill of perception and judgment. This is talked about in episode 1431. Your ability to discern who is worth it versus who is not worth it. Again, your life could depend on this. And the commitments that you will have for the rest of your life could depend on this. And what you'll be able to focus on or not focus on could depend on your ability to discern who is worth it and who is not. So make mistakes in these areas at your own peril. Let's recap today's class, which is 4 things that new professional athletes need to understand. And even if you're not a professional athlete right now, these are things that you need to know and keep in mind for once you get there. Hopefully you know this ahead of time, and hopefully nothing I'm saying here today is brand new. I really hope that all of this is reinforcement information, but if it's brand new to you, then listen to it again so that you can ingrain. Keep listening to it over and over again until you remember all 4 points and you can explain it to somebody else. Point number 1. You must learn how to perform every single day. This is a choice. This is not a talent. This is not a skill. It is a choice. This is what the 3rd day is all about, and it is the key to you being your best in sports. Professionals are people who show up consistently and deliver every single time, not someone who just has the talent to deliver, but someone who does it all the time. That's why they pay you, because they know exactly what they're going to get. Point number 2, for you male athletes, you must discern which females are for purchase and which ones are for rent, which ones are long-term and which ones are temporary. If you make a long-term decision with a temporary female, you might be signing yourself up for 18 years of wage garnishment. 18 years of commitment. You are connected for 18 years to a woman that you are only supposed to be connected with for 24 hours because you made a bad judgment call. Now, again, it might be very crude what I'm saying here. I understand it, but this is reality. Our reality is crude. Our reality is not refined. Reality is just what it is. And I got a full masterclass coming on this topic. So you male athletes, be very careful about what females you allow into your circle and how much of your circle you allow them into and how long you allow them to stay around and what decisions you make with those females. I understand your impulses, but make sure you don't do anything dumb that, again, an 18-second decision costing you 18 years of time and money. All right, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm gonna do a whole master class on that moving forward. Point number 3. Many people who like you, or you think they like you, don't actually like you. All right, they only like what you do for a living, and they like what comes with it, being the attention, the money, the fame, whatever it is that they can get from being around you. So you must adjust accordingly. It will help you to have some trusted people around you. Even better if they're people who you knew and trusted before the rest of the world knew your name. Let them be the jerks. Let them be the interference. Let them tell everybody no so that you can focus on doing the main thing. And the main thing is your ability to play that sport. If you lose your focus off of that, then all of the things that bring people around you will go away and they'll stop coming around you real quick. Point number 4, knowing all this, you can still make new friends. Just make friends with people who don't need anything from you. People who have their own stuff going on. People who already have their own food, clothing, shelter. They already have their own resources. They do not need anything from you, but they could add something to you. All right, this is why you see people who are known dating other people who are known, because they can relate to each other's lives and they know the other person doesn't need anything from them. So find people who want to be around you but don't need to be around you. Ideally, people who can actually add to what you're doing, not take away, and not just take up space, but they're not bringing anything to the table. Send me a text and tell me the best insight you got from today's class. My number is 305-384-6894. And if you are a professional who is looking for someone who can help you with your personal and professional growth to help take you and your game, whatever it is, to that next level, then you may be a good candidate for the 3rd Day Mastermind. That's the only place I offer direct coaching. That is a paid service. If you want to get on a call with me, hop on a free Zoom call with me, see if we may be a good fit for each other, and go to workonyourgameuniversity.com/call. Click the join the mastermind button there, or if you go to /call, then you'll already be on that page. Fill out the form. We'll get on a Zoom call, talk about where you're at, where you want to go, if I could be the bridge between the two, and then we'll go from there. Work on your game. Dre all day.